I had had a couple of years experience in the printing trade, and then I went to the West Seattle Herald as an apprentice, and the Seattle Typographical Union gave me credit for 2 years experience, and I was then I served a 6-year apprenticeship all told, and it was right at the end of that that I left for World War II.
Okay. In the service, did you do the same type of work?
No, I was after I got through boot camp at Farragut, Idaho, I became a student in the electrician's mate school, and that's what I was in the Navy. I wound up with a third-class electrician's mates.
But it wasn't something you wanted to pursue.
No, I was a journeyman printer by then, so I went back to that. My grandfather, my father's father, was a country doctor, and when I was in high school and everything, was in the middle of the Depression, and I had a great yen to become a doctor at that time, but it just wasn't in the cards. And my other, I guess you would call it talent, if anything, was in graphic art and everything. So I went into the printing business, and I've been happy about it. But I still have had an interest in medicine and healthcare that kind of carried over from that period, I guess. And it's grown as I've been more absorbed in it. Bruce Crane's studio, the dance. I went to learn how to dance.
You love to dance?
And she was there. And we went together for a couple of years before we were married.
Mm-hmm. Do you have children?
So, 2 boys, very grown up. One of them is 60, and the other one's 64. Another person that worked in the advertising with me, she and her husband and my wife and I bought a business that was in the area because the guy that was running it had been elected to the city council, and he couldn't handle all of the work. So we bought it, and it had association management. They had small associations that they did the management work on, and it had a business directory, a telephone directory for the area we were in, and did some printing. We bought that, and then the first year we almost tripled the business in it. So, and eventually it became we had 28 community directories that we published, and a pretty good sized printing business. And eventually the only association that we retained was the Osteopathic Association, and I spent pretty much full time running that. Mm-hmm. And that's how I got really involved in osteopathy.
That's what I was going to ask you. Not being a doctor of osteopathy, how did you get involved?
Yes. Well, it was part of the package, and the guy that was running it, they were going to relieve him of the job, but since I took it over, they decided they were going to give me a year to see if I could run it, and I ran it for 20 years after that. And when I went to work there, I couldn't even spell osteopathy.
So you learned quite a bit about the profession then?
Oh yes, it was. I had to learn it fast because it was in the middle of the time when they had the proposition passed in California that eliminated the licensing of DOs in California. About 26 years ago, 27 years ago. It's almost at the beginning.
How did you get selected to the board?
Well, after the proposition that that prohibited the licensing of DOs in California was thrown out by the state Supreme Court. They started trying to develop the possibility of opening a new school. And I was representing our state because there was no DO school in Washington or Oregon or anywhere in the Northwest. So I was representing them on this exploratory group, and at the time that they finally formed the school, I was the one most concerned with it. So when they asked for a representative from Washington, the state association said, "Well, you've been going, you might as well be the representative." So I was asked to join the board from that. Well, the first time I met him was we were at one of these joint meetings between Washington and Oregon convention. We used to call it the Northwest Osteopathic Convention. And we were in a hotel dining room over in the corner at a round table. The meeting was going on in the room, and we got to talking. He introduced himself, told me that he was considering coming to the university, or at the College of Osteopathic Medicine at that time. And I knew immediately that he was what we were looking for, that he had the education and the willpower and the talent to start it. And then up to that time, I had been fairly discouraged that it would ever take place. And I said, "Here's the guy we need." And I advised him that and he asked me, "Do you think I should take the job?" And I said, "Holy cats, yes."
And what are your views on his leadership abilities?
He's probably, I've been like a catbird sitting on a picture frame watching all this. Mm-hmm. And he's probably has the most talent from a personal standpoint. He has great vision. He has a vision of what he wants to do. And he has a great ability to get people to become part of that vision. And that's really the secret of his success. And his wife, Harriet, has been a big part of that. Because if you had experience in watching how a team works, and you stand on the sidelines and watch how they work, it's education in itself. She's been a real big part of it. What's been fun, it's been interesting, it's been a challenge. When I get off the plane from Chicago, or from Seattle, I feel like I'm walking down the yellow brick road to the land of Oz. I think it's mainly that it's really making a difference in the healthcare world, and the fact that we're gaining recognition on a national scale, and it's come a very long way in that direction in almost 30 years that it's been here. Not at the outset, because we were focused as a just pure teaching institution for osteopathic medicine alone. But as we began to develop our methodology for considering new schools, we set up task forces. It involved a lot of people from the communities or the professions that we were considering, people had national scope, and sat and talked to them and tried to develop whether it was viable or feasible to do it, whether we were training young people to go into a marketable profession, and whether there was a need, and whether there was a pool of applicants that and going through that process, I found out that we really had developed a methodology for considering these moves and doing them on a measured, considered basis, so that our chances of success were practically 100%.